Hi everyone, Mrs. Venti here. Welcome back. In this video, we are going to do our introduction to trigonometry. Now, what we're going to cover today is stuff that we did last year, which is grade 10 work. This is just your basic foundations of introductory trigonometry. First things we want to talk about is SOHCAHTOA, which is, that for trigonometry, we calculate sine, cos, and tan. When we calculate sine is equal to opposite over hypotenuse, cos is equal to adjacent over hypotenuse, and tan is equal to opposite over adjacent. If you write all of these letters out, you have, what am I doing? You start with S-O-H, saw, then C-A-H, ka, and T-O-A, TOA, SOHCAHTOA. This is how you remember how to do your trig ratios. These abbreviations or this ratio is based on this triangle. So in a triangle, it depends on which angle you are looking at. So if you are looking at angle alpha over here, which is ACB, then that means that the one opposite it is the opposite, and the one right next to it sharing a side is the adjacent, and the one opposite the 90 degrees, the longest line in the triangle, is your hypotenuse. So we calculate the values of the angle based on these ratios. Another way of looking at the ratios is if it is in a circle on a Cartesian plane, then instead of using SOHCAHTOA, we use y over r, x over r, and y over x. So you need to know this abbreviation of the ratio as well as this Pythagorean theorem, which says that x squared plus y squared is equal to r squared. Last piece of information that you need to remember is what we call the cos diagram, and this is basically on your Cartesian plane, in which quadrant are your trig ratios positive. So in our first quadrant, all ratios are positive. Quadrant 2, only sine is positive. Quadrant 3, only tan is positive. And quadrant 4, cos is positive. All of this information needs to be incorporated into your answers to your questions. But let's do a revision question to see what on earth this is about. Okay, so the first question that we are looking at is saying to us, can you look at the diagram, which is a Cartesian, and then they want us, number 1, calculate tan of beta, number 2, calculate sine square beta plus cos square beta, and number 3, calculate 13 sine beta times cos beta. Now, the important thing that they're saying here is that you need to use it without a calculator. So we're not using a calculator. That's the first thing. And then they're telling us that OT is a line and T is -2, which means that the X value here is -2 and Y is +3. So basically, we have got this beta angle, which goes from the positive x-axis to the line OT. Now, let's first get our basic ingredients. When you want to calculate trigonometry, because we're on a Cartesian plane, we're not going to use SOHCAHTOA, but we're going to use x, y, r. So let's start with our statement and say, okay, x is equal to -2. Y is equal to +3. What is r? Before I even start answering my questions, I want to make sure that I have my trio x, y, r sorted out. So let's calculate r. We know that x squared plus y squared is equal to r squared, and the reason for that is because of our friend Pythagoras. So we know that -2 squared plus 3 squared is equal to r squared. That is 4 plus 9 is equal to r squared. So that is 13. So r is equal to the square root plus minus of 13. Under normal circumstances, I would say yes, plus minus. But because r is a length that I can draw with a ruler, r is always positive. Please remember this, r is always positive. Therefore, my r is going to be the positive square root of 13. Positive square root of 13. Okay, now I have my trio. I can now actually look at the questions. So question number 1 is asking me, what is tan of beta? That's the question. Now I know, based on my previous knowledge, tan is y over x. So tan of beta is equal to y over x. Now I go to my little block over here of information I've gathered, and that ends up being 3 over negative 2, or negative 3 over 2. That is what I'm saying tan of beta is. Now I need to check, is this correct? Because according to CAST, C-A-S-T, in this quadrant, only sign is positive, which means tan is negative. That is correct. Let's look at question number 2. Question number 2 is saying to me, sine squared beta plus cos squared beta. So I know that sine is equal to, again, I go back here, y over r, cos is x over r. So I'm going to say y over r squared plus x over r squared. Substitute my values. Y is 3 over the square root of 13 squared plus x is negative 2 over the square root of 13 squared. So now I'm going to square both sides. So I am going to have 9 over 13 plus 4 over 13. If I add those up, I get 13 over 13, which is equal to 1. My final answer is 1. Sine square beta plus cos square beta is equal to 1. Okay, my last question here, question C, says 13 sine beta times cos beta. Okay, let's go ahead and do that one. So I keep my 13, and I'm going to convert. Sine is y over r, and cos is x over r. Substitute values. Y is 3, x is negative 2. 3 over square root 13 times negative 2 over square root 13. Okay, now I can multiply this out. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna keep the 13 outside and just do the 2 brackets. So 13, square root 13 times square root 13 is 13. Negative 6. I multiply those out. 13 and 13 cancel out. So my final answer is going to be negative 6 as my final answer. Okay, so that's your brief introduction into trigonometry, how to use your trig ratio SOHCAHTOA, or using the XYR on the CAST system, on the Cartesian plane. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I will see you in the next video. We will continue with our wonderful world of trigonometry. Bye now.